Hi guys, welcome back. So it's the last selection reaction of the Six Nations Super Saturday. I'm going to go through all the teams in order that they play. We've got Scotland versus Italy, France versus Wales, and then finished off with England versus Ireland. Ireland going for that big Grand Slam. So let's get into Scotland versus Italy, starting with the home team, Scotland. Now, big absences from Scotland. Finn Russell and Stuart Hogg both out with injury. That's a big blow. Although if you did watch my permutations video, which I'll try and link up above, Scotland can't really get to second. I mean, mathematically they could, but it's incredibly unlikely. So they're just kind of playing for a big finish performance-wise. They're probably staying third, to be honest. Ollie Smith comes in for Hogg. And from what I've seen of Ollie Smith in the past, I really like him. I think he's a really good all-round player. Hogg's been okay, been decent, but he hasn't really set the world alight that he has done in previous Six Nations. So I think that's an okay change there. Not too upset with that. If I was a Scotland fan, Finn Russell missing is, of course, irreplaceable. There's no one like Finn Russell. I mean, Scotland are going to go for this, don't get me wrong. They're going to go for bonus point win with a massive points difference, and Finn Russell is the man if you want to do that sort of game. Finn Russell's replacement at 10, Blair Kinghorn, is a running rugby 10, so he'll definitely go after points. He's a good guy as well to go chasing points, but obviously nowhere near Finn Russell. And kind of the double whammy there is they probably would have put Kinghorn at 15 as well, but there's only one of him, so they've gone for him at 10. Ollie Smith coming in for Hogg. And then one voluntary change to the starting 15 is Matt Fagerson, very unluckily being benched for Hamish Watson. Hamish Watson coming back in, trying to get even more pace into that team. Jamie Ritchie, the captain, goes back to blindside. He moves around quite a lot, so a very quick back row. Good to see Ewan Ashman back on the bench. He's had some real eye-catching performances for Sale, a real powerful hooker. Like him a lot. Sutherland's in for Bergen. And also a good opportunity to get the Irish recruit Ben Healy capped, get him there, secured for Scotland. He's a very physical fly half. They're definitely going to survive in the international scene with that physicality, so be good to see him on the pitch as well. And another change on the bench, Cam Redpath comes in, who I really like as a impact player, a versatile player, someone who can make tries. In for Chris Harris, who I've said all along is a good player if you're going to start him, but I don't really see him as an impact player off the bench, so I probably prefer Cam Redpath on the bench anyway. But we'll see some normal combinations there, staying on the wing with Big Do and Van der Merwe. They were showing up a little bit last week, skill-wise, defensively-wise, so they'll want to make a big impact, but we know they can absolutely go beast mode if they want to. Tui Peluto and Jones have been great all tournament. The front row of Scoom, Turner and Fagerson been very good. Another change I should have mentioned was Sam Skinner coming into the second row with Johnny Gray, so a change of second rows as well. And then the bench, I've mentioned most of those guys, Ali Price, Ben Healy, Cameron Redpath, the backs on the bench. So on to Italy. First correction was, I've said in previous videos that Wales could get the wooden spoon as well, but the wooden spoon historically is meant to be when you win no games at all, so it's only Italy who can get the wooden spoon. Wales could finish 6th, but I still think it's unlikely. But Italy, definitely got something to play for. We see a debut for 21-year-old wing Simone Gesse from Zebra. Padovani missing out, which I think is fine because he wasn't the greatest versus Wales, made some errors. Another casualty is Varney at scrum half, and I think, again, that's another fair enough one. Fusco's been good off the bench, so I think he deserves a start. And on the bench for scrum halves, we've got Paolo's younger brother, Alessandro Garbisi, so we could well have Garbisi passing to Garbisi. In fact, that's likely to happen, so that'll be a good one when that happens. Allen continues at fullback for the injured talisman Kapawutsu. So there's the team as we see some star performers. I like the centres, Menoncello and Brex. I like the number 8, Canone, Lamaro Negri. That back row's been really good. And then we may well see the 2 Garbisi. So that's going to be an exciting game. Absolutely end-to-end stuff. Both teams have got something to play for. Italy possibly a bit more, but Scotland are always going to go for broke with their attack. So it could be absolutely all over the place with these 2 attacks buzzing the ball around. That's going to be a great one to watch, even though it's not going to decide the winner of the Six Nations. On to France versus Wales. Only 2 changes for the home team France, and they look mighty powerful and ruthless at their best against England last week, just destroyed them. So only 2 changes, and I don't really think it weakens the team anyway, because one is returning first choice tight head Antonio back from his ban. They've lost the bulky Willemser, but they replace him with the bulky Taui Fifanua, so no real change in tactical play there as well. So a very similar looking team, maybe even stronger on paper. Doesn't look good for Wales, but you never know in sport. But last game, Olivon, Aldrit, they were absolutely on fire. Had dropped off a little bit in previous games. They were back on it against England. Dupont just absolutely amazing. Dante's defensive work, just brilliant. It's a huge test for Wales. So let's have a look at Wales. Now, Warren Gatland once again has made a stack of changes for this game. It doesn't feel like he's trying to pick his best team. I'm not sure he knows his best team. So I think he's trying to look at different combinations, and there's some logic in that for sure. But Wales played very controlled, very comfortable win against Italy. So you could have argued for the same team or a very similar team to play again. But there are a lot of changes. I'm not sure it's the best way to beat France, but maybe that isn't the ultimate aim. Tompkins and North, a complete change in the centres. I think that's, telling you it's not his first choice team, because I think Hawkins and Grady have been building a good relationship. Both very young, going to get so much better, and a complete change in centres just seems to me he's trying somebody new, just having a look at a different combination. Tompkins and North are very experienced, very physical. Maybe he's protecting them from the powerful Dante and Fiku, although against Italy you had Menoncello and Breck, so I don't know if that's the case. Anyway, I would say that Hawkins and Grady probably are the first choice pairing at the moment. Let me know what you think, or if no one's first choice at the moment. An injury to Wales' most consistent player, I thought. Liam Williams is unfortunate, but they get to release Lewis Rees-Zammit from fullback. We've seen it before. He's very, very dangerous on the counter-attack, but I'm definitely going to be looking at his defence, his tackling, his positioning, his kicking game, all those things that maybe we're a bit less sure of. We know about his pace. And another hint that he's not picking his best team is he's not sticking with Owen Williams, who's looked fairly comfortable at fly half. He's getting bigger back in, letting him fight for his place. And more hokey-cokey, in-out, shake it all about with the second rows. Alan Wynne-Jones is back in. David Jenkins is out again, so really shaking it around. Aaron Wainwright is in for Jack Morgan. Another change, Aaron Wainwright is in for Jack Morgan. Jack Morgan didn't pick up where he left off at the end of last year, which is a shame. Wainwright's been very good domestically. He's got that athletic ability, and no one's nailed down the blindside role, so yeah, worth a shot, I guess. Another shuffle on the bench. Bradley Roberts is in for Scott Baldwin at hooker for no particular reason I can see, and many of you guys commenting say Roberts shouldn't be near the national team anyway, so let's see how he does when he comes on. And Halfpenny coming on to cover the back three. So let me know what you think of the Welsh picks. Is Gatland right to shuffle the pack, or is he setting them up for a hiding? So finally, on to the Grand Slam decider, Ireland versus England, and unsurprisingly, Ireland making as few changes as possible. We saw Gary Ringrose stretch it off, nastily getting his head on the wrong side of a tackle. But the good news for them is Robbie Henshaw is available, and he is one of their best centres anyway, can play 12 and 13. So if you can't have Ringrose, Henshaw would be your next pick. Henderson is out as well with injury, but Ryan Baird is a great replacement, probably more athletic, a bit taller as well. Henderson's got that experience, but Baird's going to be a great player, absolutely. Now, Ireland make a change at scrum half, and I think it makes them stronger. Jameson Gibson-Park comes back in. He's my choice as first choice scrum half, gets the ball away that bit quicker than Conor Murray, so I think that's really good news, actually. Rob Herring comes onto the bench because Kelleher had to go off, we think with a shoulder injury. Because Baird's starting, Treadwell comes onto the bench. Jimmy O'Brien comes on because Henshaw is starting. Conan maybe was going to have to start because it was looking a little bit dodgy for Caelan Doris, but he's come through injury, actually looking pretty good after all those injury worries and actual injuries. Hugo Keenan's been sublime the whole tournament, barely made a mistake. Hansen, I think, had a little bit of a rocky first couple of games and then played really well from then on. Henshaw and Aki, very experienced centres. Lowe's been on fire. Sexton's been the main man. Their first choice front row of Porter, Sheehan and Furlong. Brian Baird adding that extra athletic ability in the second row. And their first choice back row, Amani, Van der Fleer and Caelan Doris. So that is absolutely great news. On the bench, Ross Burns there, been doing really well covering Sexton. Cian Healy, Tom O'Toole. It's a brilliant, brilliant team despite a few injuries. They're going to be huge favourites against England. So let's get into the England team. Borthwick has made a few changes. The performance last week was so poor you could justify dropping pretty much all of them. Let's get into the team. Ellis Genge is there as vice-captain because Owen Farrell starts. We'll get back to that. But George and Sinclair make up the front row, the same front row that did so poorly against France. There was an injury to Ollie Chesham, so they were always going to have to replace him. So it's Ribbons straight in. So let's see what Ribbons can do with a start. I've been going on about how impressed I have been with him in the Premiership. So Itoje and Ribbons. The back row stays as it is. Lewis Ludlam named as another vice-captain, but it's Willis and Dombrandt again. The big surprise, I guess, is that Dombrandt keeps his place. Now, Borthwick is kept with him through the whole championship. This is a huge test for him, a huge test for the whole pack. They need to front up against Ireland and not get blown away like they did against France. Into the backs, Jack Van Portfleet stays. I'm a little bit disappointed with that because I think Mitchell deserves a start. Van Portfleet hasn't been great the whole championship, but a lot of faith shown in him from Borthwick. So let's see if he can rise to the occasion because he hasn't really had a massive game for England so far. But yeah, a real shame that Mitchell isn't starting. I did think that Owen Farrell would start at 10 just for that defensive ability at least. And let's see what Owen Farrell's goal kicking is like because it hasn't been good in this Six Nations. Ollie Lawrence has got an injury, so they need a new inside centre. They've gone for Power to replace Power, so Mano Tuolangi is in. He can be fantastic, but I'm just worried about his fitness. He hasn't played for a while because he's been banned, plus his injury profile. So if he gets through a whole game or most of a game, that's a plus in itself. How effective he's going to be, well, we don't know because he hasn't played for so long. Slade, another guy I think very lucky to keep his place. Marchant we see there on the bench. He must have been close to starting because Slade, I know he can pass and kick, but I want to see him hit hard in the tackle and make breaks in attack because that's what you want your outside centres to do, not just be another skill guy. Great news though, on the wings, finally, hallelujah, Henry Arundel gets a start. I think that is the headline there. I've been asking for it all championship. Finally, we get him there. He's recovered from injury. He's been on the bench. Now he gets to start. Get him the ball, see what he can do. It's exciting stuff. And on the other wing, Anthony Watson, I think he's been improving. So I think winger-wise, that's our best lineup so far. Freddie Stewart, of course, retains at 15. He does what he does so well. He's not the quickest. He's not going to cover the quickest, but he's going to catch and kick and hit hard lines all day long. So I think that's fair enough if you have that pace outside him, which they do. The same front row replacements of Jack Walker, Mako Vunipola and Dan Cole. Ezekwe covers the second row. Curry once again covers the back row. Alex Mitchell once again covers 9. Marcus Smith is covering 10. We wondered if we might see George Ford, but it's Smith to have another go. And Marchant, I think that's a good call having Marchant there on the bench. We don't see any Malins, which is interesting. And defensively, he didn't look the best. Marchant can cover centre, but he can also cover wing as well. So, yep, I think it's worth a crack with this team. I'm very excited to see Henry Arundel. Some of these forwards are going to seriously have to step up, the likes of Dombrandt, Sinclair for sure. Let me know if you think it's good enough to beat Ireland. I mean, there's a chance, although Ireland are massive favourites. Anyway, let me know what you think of all of those teams. Love to know reactions, and I'll catch you next time.